It was the golden age of silent film. And the most famous actress, the most adored woman in the world, was America's sweetheart, Mary Pickford.
Mary Pickford was the first modern celebrity. The first celebrity to be created through moving images.
She invented acting for film.
She was the first person to really get out there and show everybody how to do it.
In a fairy tale romance, she married Hollywood's leading man, Douglas Fairbanks. Together, they invented the myth of Hollywood come true. With Charlie Chaplin, she and Fairbanks began United Artists and changed movie history.
She was a woman in a man's world. She played the game of business and beat the moguls at their own game.
She set the parameters for movie stardom, and she also was the first to pay the price for movie stardom. And it's a terrible price.
In a handful of years, she lost it all. The fans forgot her. Forgot the glow of her image and the magical presence of the world's first superstar. She began as plain Gladys Smith. At 15, she dreamed of stardom, of glamour, of a career on the Broadway stage.
She wanted to better herself. So her sights were set on working for the great and famous impresario, David Belasco.
She began to haunt David Belasco's office. She would go every day, wait all day, only to be told to come back tomorrow.
One day in the summer of 1907, she decided not to wait quietly.
She stormed the office and started yelling at the top of her lungs, "My life depends on seeing Mr. Belasco."
Her outburst finally won her an audition. "So, you want to be an actress, little girl?" Belasco asked. "No, sir," she replied. "I have been an actress. I want to be a good actress now." Gladys's encounter with the most important man on Broadway was all she hoped for. It was a meeting that would change the rest of her life. Gladys grew up in Toronto, Canada, in a family with no father and no money. Her father died when she was just 5. Her mother, Charlotte, struggled to raise her children. Gladys, the eldest, Lottie, and Jack.
Basically, Charlotte was looking at destitution. Gladys remembered watching her mother in the middle of the night, sewing in order to get money to put food on the table.
Desperate, Charlotte considered giving Gladys up for adoption to their family doctor. Gladys was excited. She would share her newfound riches, like a pony and cart, with Lottie and Jack. Charlotte gently explained that she would no longer be part of the family.
So she asked her mother, "Don't you love me anymore?" And Charlotte said, "I will never stop loving you, but I cannot give you the things this man can give you." And Gladys said, "Then I don't want a pony, I don't want a cart. I want you."
From that day on, Gladys and Charlotte were bound by a fierce determination that nothing would ever break up their family. But they needed a way to survive. Charlotte learned that the local theater wanted children for their next production. The pay was $8 a week.
Charlotte naturally hesitated because, first of all, Gladys was a child. And secondly, in those days, there was this puritanical attitude toward the stage, theater people, actresses. It wasn't socially respectable. It was almost considered a slight step above prostitution.
Charlotte had no choice. They needed the money. In January 1900, 7-year-old Gladys made her stage debut. She played Big Girl in a Victorian melodrama called The Silver King.
There's a scene where some other school children want to play with Sissy Denver, and Big Girl won't hear of it. She says, "Don't go near her, girls. Her father killed a man." Well, just for that moment, Gladys Smith felt this tension and what it feels like to have an audience in the palm of your hand. And she loved it.
Soon, the whole family were actors. They played bit parts in shabby, third-rate touring companies. It was an exhausting life of endless trains, stale food, and rough audiences. There was no time for school, or friends, or fun. At first, they traveled together. But many companies would only hire Gladys. Alone on the road, she learned to negotiate with producers and boarding house owners. At 12, Gladys was the family breadwinner. She began to have the nightmare that would haunt her for the rest of her life. She went out on stage and there was no audience.
Gladys would have been fearing every day that there might not be an audience. There might not be a play tomorrow because there was never enough money, and because of the horrible instability of that family, it must have been quite terrifying. The responsibility that Gladys was carrying for herself and for her brother and sister was tremendous.
In the summer of 1907, after 7 years on the road, she finished a play in New York and set out on her pursuit of impresario David Belasco. He was immediately impressed.
Gladys already had that kind of glow that critics call star quality. The eye went to her, whether she was appearing on stage or just walking into the room. Everybody would say, "Oh, what a beautiful child."
Belasco offered her a part in his next production, but he insisted she change her name to something more glamorous. They went through the names of her family.